They said no man could defeat him. 60 duels, 60 victories, not a single scar left behind. But what made Miyamoto Musashi invincible wasn't his sword, nor his strength. It was something far greater, an unshakable confidence that came not from pride, but from mastery of the self. A confidence so complete, it could not be broken by failure, loss, or even death. Imagine a boy of 13 walking barefoot into his first duel to the death. No armor, no teacher behind him, no crowd cheering his name. Just silence. The older warrior before him sneers, seeing only a child. But that child sees something else. Not an opponent, but an opportunity to test his mind. The duel ends quickly. Musashi wins. And in that victory, he discovers something few ever will. That fear can be faced, and when it is faced fully, it loses its power. From that moment, Musashi devoted his life not to defeating others, but to mastering himself. Over the next 30 years, he would fight 60 duels, each one testing the limits of his awareness, patience, and spirit. He never lost. Yet his writings show he was not born fearless, and far from it. He was plagued by doubt, self-criticism, and the quiet terror that lives in every human heart. The difference was what he did with it. Most people try to silence fear. Musashi learned to listen to it. Most try to run from discomfort. Musashi walked straight into it. He realized that every emotion, no matter how dark, hides a lesson. And he trained himself to uncover it. He did not seek comfort. He sought truth. People today think confidence means feeling good about yourself, thinking positive thoughts, repeating affirmations, pretending you're fine. Musashi would have laughed at that. He understood something deeper, that true confidence isn't something you feel. It's something you become. It's built not by pretending you're fearless, but by standing face to face with fear until it bends to your will. Modern science has caught up to his ancient wisdom. Harvard researchers found that individuals who practice realistic self-assessment, facing their weaknesses directly, perform 40% better under stress than those who rely on positive thinking alone. Musashi was practicing this centuries before psychology existed. He called it brutal self-honesty. Every night after battle or training, he would sit in silence, replaying every move, every mistake, every hesitation. He would write down his flaws, not to punish himself, but to study them. To him, ignorance was death. Awareness was survival. Most people protect their ego. Musashi dismantled his. He understood that you cannot fix what you refuse to face. A neuroscientist at Stanford described it perfectly. The brain's default mode is to shield the ego from pain by filtering out negative feedback. But those who seek mastery learn to override that filter. They welcome discomfort, because it is the doorway to growth. Musashi had already lived that truth. He called this mental forging entering the tiger's den, deliberately walking into fear so that its claws could no longer harm him. He believed fear was not an enemy but a master teacher. While others spent their lives avoiding it, he studied it. He discovered that fear and excitement are almost identical. Same heartbeat, same adrenaline, same breath. The only difference lies in how the mind interprets the signal. To Musashi, fear was not a sign to stop. It was a sign to focus. The trembling before a duel, the rush before a strike. These were not enemies. They were guides sharpening his presence. He taught himself to transform fear into awareness. Every pulse of anxiety became a reminder to breathe deeper, to move slower, to see clearer. That's why when he faced the legendary Swallow Cut Master, a man so fast he could slice a bird mid-flight, Musashi arrived late on purpose, 2 hours late. His opponent boiled with anger. The crowd whispered. But Musashi walked calmly to the field, his heart steady as still water. He was not fearless. He was focused. That duel was over in a single movement. His composure broke the opponent's rhythm before the swords even touched. Musashi won without struggle because he had already won the internal battle. The sword was only an extension of that victory. This is what most people miss. Real confidence doesn't come from the absence of fear, but from the ability to act calmly in its presence. It's not about removing chaos. It's about finding stillness inside it. Most people's confidence is fragile. It depends on success, praise, or validation. When things go wrong, it collapses. Musashi built something different. He built confidence from failure. Even after becoming the greatest swordsman in Japan, he would deliberately pick up weapons he was terrible at, spears, chains, farm tools, and practice them in public, failing in front of his own students. They would watch their master stumble, drop the weapon, start again. Why would a man of such skill humiliate himself deliberately? Because he knew something they didn't, that true confidence is not born from mastery, but from humility. To be comfortable looking foolish, to be calm while failing, that is unbreakable strength. A modern performance psychologist describes this as failure inoculation. By deliberately practicing recovery from mistakes, people become less fragile and more adaptable. Musashi was doing this long before science gave it a name. He even staged mock defeats in training to practice keeping composure under loss. To him, defeat was not shameful. It was education. But his most radical practice was not physical. It was spiritual. Every morning before sunrise, Musashi performed what he called death meditation. He would sit cross-legged, close his eyes, and visualize his own death. His final breath, his body returning to the earth, everything fading into stillness. He wasn't being morbid. He was freeing himself. Because when you accept death, you stop fearing loss. You stop clinging. You stop pretending life will always be safe. He wrote, "If you wish to control others, you must first control yourself. If you wish to defeat death, you must cease fearing it." Through death meditation, Musashi dismantled the illusion of permanence. What's left when you accept that nothing lasts? Peace. Modern psychology supports this ancient insight. Researchers studying patients who practice mortality awareness report profound effects: reduced anxiety, greater focus, higher gratitude. When you no longer fear losing, you become fully alive. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You act. Musashi's acceptance of death made him unstoppable in life. Because what can you threaten a man with when he's already accepted the worst outcome? Nothing. Fear loses its power over those who no longer resist it. At 60, long after he had retired from dueling, a young swordsman challenged him. Musashi hadn't fought in years. Everyone assumed he would decline. Instead, he accepted, and arrived holding not a sword, but a wooden paddle carved from an oar. The crowd murmured in disbelief. A wooden weapon against steel? Madness. But Musashi knew the truth. Confidence built on tools is fragile. Confidence built within cannot be broken. The duel lasted only a breath. One strike. The young swordsman fell. The crowd erupted, but Musashi remained still. There was no triumph, no boast, only quiet understanding. He had mastered the final lesson, that true confidence has nothing to prove. He spent his final years in a cave writing the Book of Five Rings, distilling everything he had learned about combat, philosophy, and consciousness. His words were not about killing, but about living. He taught that the warrior's path is not a path of violence, it is the path of truth. To see clearly, act decisively, and live without fear. So what does all this mean for you? You don't need to face 60 duels to understand Musashi's message. The same principles apply to every battle. The job interview, the failed relationship, the silent fight with your own doubt. His way was simple but not easy. Radical honesty, voluntary discomfort, daily awareness of mortality, and the courage to begin again every single day. Start with honesty. Write down your weaknesses, the things you avoid confronting. The act of naming them already weakens their power. Then, step into discomfort. Do the small things that scare you, not to prove you're fearless, but to remind yourself that you can move even when afraid. Take the cold shower. Speak the truth you've been avoiding. Allow yourself to fail in front of others. Every time you do, you train your nervous system to remain steady in chaos. Practice what Musashi practiced, death meditation. Reflect on impermanence. Not to become morbid, but to become awake. When you realize that every moment is borrowed time, you stop wasting it. You stop hiding. You start living with precision, clarity, and courage. Because the truth is this, you already have everything you need to be unshakable. The same stillness that lived in Musashi lives in you. But you must choose to uncover it, to let go of the illusions that make you fragile, the need to be liked, the need to be right, the need to never fail. Musashi's final words were simple: "I have no regrets." Not because his life was perfect, but because he met every challenge fully. He didn't hide from fear or chase validation. He faced himself completely, and that was enough. So ask yourself, are you living to protect who you think you are, or to discover who you could become? The first path is comfort. The second is mastery. Only one leads to freedom. The path of Musashi is not gentle. It will demand truth, humility, and courage. But those who walk it emerge with a confidence that cannot be taken away, because it doesn't come from the world. It comes from within. The rock crumbles under pressure. The sword dulls with use. But the mind that faces fear with calm cannot be broken. That is Musashi's gift to the world. Not victory, not fame, but freedom. Train your mind. Master yourself. Walk the dojo path.